Hello and welcome to Beyond the Lens. It's our second episode. We're back at it. We had a little bit of a break, but we're back here. And I think today we are talking about some new cameras that are coming out.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting cameras coming out. The D850 was one of them. The Sony A9 and the Panasonic G9.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting cameras. Definitely takes up the game to the next level with these cameras. Pretty well around. What do you think about them?
I'm not sold on any of them. I mean, the Panasonic G9 was just released today, so a lot of the figures and all that came out. I mean, it's a micro four thirds sensor again. It's actually the same sensor, I guess, that they use in the G5, which has been out for about a year now.
GH5.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be comparable, and basically what Panasonic is saying is that they have tuned the sensor more towards doing still photography.
Yeah, I'm not sold on that. Still photography. I'll still stick with full frame. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean that's the big thing. And I mean, when people are looking at it, they're talking about doing wildlife and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it will still mainly be sort of an outdoor camera. I mean, it talked about they had a segment where they had a wildlife photographer take it out and take some stills, and he took some beautiful stills with the camera. Don't get me wrong. And I mean, when we're talking from a strictly technical viewpoint, I mean, cameras, there are certain differences that you come about, but I mean, from a standpoint on the other end, which a lot of people get themselves in trouble with, is there's sort of that gear lust. Everybody wants sort of the latest, greatest camera. They're pixel peeping. They're doing all these kind of weird and wonderful things, and they're not looking at the end results. I mean, the truth of the matter is that you can take a lot of cameras, and not full frame cameras and not even the top of the line cameras, and you can take some pretty awesome photographs if you know what you're doing and go about it in the right way.
Well, the way I look at gear is that know your gear, know your limitations, right? I mean, I myself have a micro four thirds, and I love mine. Yeah. Just for travels and stuff, it's nice and small. For family photos and stuff, why would I need anything extra than 16 megapixels? Right. I mean, it's plenty. If I want to print even just a small family album, is more than plenty. Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be hauling around with the D800 on my vacation, hauling all that weight. That's just not enjoyable for myself. Right. So, I mean, it's a workhorse with my full frames, but I enjoy the convenience of a micro four thirds. And the sad thing is that my EM5 actually takes better video than my D800. So that's kind of strange there. Don't know how to explain that, but I guess it's the image stabilization that came along with the camera too. That helps a lot. So. Yeah,
I mean, to be honest, video has never been Nikon's sort of strong suit, right? I
mean, the D850 kind of changes that, I hope. There's not a whole lot of reviews out yet, but hopefully that camera will change quite a lot of stuff. But just judging by reviews and stuff, the autofocus is still not there for the D850. So it is a full sensor readout, which it's quite exciting. So.
Yeah. And I mean, you're seeing a lot of that, like sort of edge-to-edge stuff. You're seeing that with, Sony and Panasonic. I mean, they have like ridiculous numbers of focal points and all that kind of stuff, which, it's good in one sense, but it's also bad in another. I mean, the biggest thing for me, and I'm most definitely a Canon shooter, is that I have not made the move anywhere else. I've not gone to Sony or anything like that have great low-light performance. Because in what I do, concert photography, the autofocus for those systems is simply not there. So for myself, low light and focus is important. I mean, it's not going to work. And I think in a lot of cases, some of these cameras are not great sport shooters either. Panasonic, it's a micro it's a four thirds camera. It might be able to do it.
I myself think that micro four thirds is kind of gimmicky. They claim that I can do so many things, but using contrast detection, you're still going to struggle under low light. You're not going to get the amount of speed that a DSLR is going to give.
And what they've done to compensate for, one thing that basically Panasonic has done well over the past few years, and we've seen it with the GH4 and the GH5 now, is video. A big part of their game is image stabilization, whether that's in body or the lens. that's a big part of their game, and that's part of the G9 as well. They're claiming that it's got 6.5 stops of image stabilization,
the lens and
which is a fair bit of stabilization. That being said, that like I said, they had a short video where they were basically showing this wildlife photographer going out, and he was photographing elephants and monkeys and all that kind of stuff, and he was saying, well, even in low light conditions, he's like, I can basically slow down the shutter speed to get better shots because of the in-body stabilization, which is fine
as long as your subject's
not moving, right? Yeah. So again, like myself, it's like, great, I have 6.5 stops of image stabilization, go to a concert, somebody's jumping all over the cake. It's not going to work for me, right? I mean, the best thing for people to understand is understand what you're shooting, what your needs are, and if it's going to work.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I mean, it will probably work great with video vloggers. Camera's nice and small. It's nice. Yeah. You're not going to be carrying around a DSLR to do like self-vlogging and stuff. You're not going to be holding a DSLR up here.
Yeah, but the Casey Neistat's of the world do.
I guess, but then I'm pretty sure they use some sort of a selfie stick or gimbal on it.
Right, but it's still, like, I mean, there are people that basically use larger cameras to do it.
I can't see myself with my chicken arms doing it.
I mean, even myself. I mean, I have 3 DSLR cameras.
Yeah.
Occasionally, I will crack out the Canon 70D to do vlogging. But it's more to shoot other things than myself, or it's put it on a tripod and do it. But most of the time I actually use a Canon G7X for all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's interesting, right? Yeah, I mean, it's what suits your needs, right? Yeah. I mean, for me, for vlogging, I'd rather have a camera that's pocketable and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, even when I have my full gear, even when I have the the Mark III out, I'll pull out the G7X to vlog. I won't use the 5D.
No, definitely. I don't know, even for me myself, that's why I bought a Micro Four Thirds. I find that it's a happy medium compared to point and shoot.
Yeah.
Low light performance, I mean, it's not the best, but I mean, for vlogging wise, it's still compact enough, but I still got the flexibility of changing lenses.
Yeah.
That's the big part which sold me. Can I get away with shooting with my cell phone or point and shoot? Yeah, definitely. I can even use a GoPro if I wanted to vlog. It's not a big deal, right? But
yeah.
Just for me, myself, I prefer the flexibility of changing lenses and such. And for me, with the Micro Four Thirds, I'm not compromising too much on low light. So it still kind of gives me a rough capability under low light. It's not the best, but I mean, like I said, I use it for personal stuff. It's really not a big deal if I see noise.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be blowing it, to become like a 24x36.
See, and that's what a lot of people don't think about either. And that's probably the biggest thing. I always tell people you should print your work, especially if you're a professional. You should definitely print your work and have prints out there. But the vast majority of people this day and age never print their work, which is, to me, a little bit crazy. Because hard drives fail, all that kind of stuff. You can lose imagery and stuff, and so you want kind of like a hard copy backup. May seem a little strange. You do want to have those prints for people to see it as you mean it to be seen. I don't mean it to be seen as a little Instagram shot. I'd rather have a much larger format for people to see. And if you ever see my portfolio, I mean, it's massive.
Well, the problem with online portfolio is that our monitors are tuned or calibrated. Yeah. Not everybody's monitors are calibrated. Even if from phone to phone, from TV to monitor to even just a computer monitor, I mean, everybody sees different colors differently. Yeah. And if their monitors are not tuned, that affects your portfolio as well. That's where prints comes in handy, because that's your vision and that's the way it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you view it,
Yeah. And there's a big difference with brightness too when you've got backlit LEDs and all that kind of stuff versus some other monitors. It's the color is definitely different. I noticed with the new Apple when I switched that my tones were a bit off, but that was just because I was getting used to a brighter monitor. So I mean, once I figured that out, I was sort of back to normal. But a lot of people, like I said, when they're looking at these things, if you're never going to blow your work up to that kind of size, like poster size and all that kind of stuff, sometimes getting the bigger cameras, like a Canon 1DX or whatever the case may be, or even a 5D Mark IV or a full frame camera, it might not be. You might not need it.
Yeah,
is essentially what it comes down to.
50 megapixels. 45 now with the Nikon.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's overkill. I remember when I first got the D800. I mean, my God, it blew my mind. But it's an overkill. I ended up spending more money on external hard drives.
Yeah.
And all the backups and stuff. I mean, I had to upgrade my computer at the time just to handle the files. Is it worth it? If it's all just going to be online, or even if you're doing albums and stuff, I mean, you're not going to be blowing up like super big.
No.
I mean, most of those pixels goes to waste anyways. But I mean, I saw the point at the time where you can kind of sort of crop in, after the fact, it's kind of nice, but 36 megapixels is more than enough. But then now you have all these cameras going up to 50. Even Phase 1 has 100 megapixel back now. I mean,
and I mean, shooting like even myself going to a medium format camera is pretty much useless unless I'm doing large print magazines all the time, or advertising or catalog or whatever, fashion and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it makes absolutely zero sense.
But at that time, you're not even editing the photos yourself. You're just passing on the file pretty much. I mean, like you said, unless you're in the fashion industry where you actually absolutely need those big, huge files to have professional editors go in and edit the photos, it's an overkill.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, it's nice to have some wiggle room to crop and stuff like that. But I mean, speaking for myself, I don't shoot to crop. I shoot to capture.
No, nobody wants to shoot to crop. I mean,
but there is people that do. There's people that I know. I know one photographer. I'm not going to name any names here, and if they're watching, I apologize because I'm going to say something that you probably don't want to hear back. But like they'll say things like, "Oh, I have to crop all of my images because I'm horrible at getting the horizon line straight." Like, I mean, it's just, if that's your habit, I would work on fixing your habit versus going to a larger format so you can just kind of a
lot of these cameras offer levels these days. I mean, it's not hard to line up your horizon. Cropping after the fact, for me, just a slight crop, maybe a slight tilt to the photo might add a little bit of artistic side to the photo. But I don't crop a whole lot. I mean, why buy a 36 megapixel camera when you're not going to be utilizing all 36 megapixels, right? Like, if you shoot the crop, it's just a total waste.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to be there, just so that you have something to fall back on just a little bit, but I wouldn't crop the heck out of my photos.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it defeats the whole purpose. It's like buying a D800 and shooting it in crop mode. Why did you buy a D800?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to have it there, but I wouldn't. Yeah. But even still, like I said, it's just not practical, and it all depends on your workflow too. Like yourself, I understand that you do a lot of event photography, and it's pump and go. With 36 megapixels, 50 megapixels, it's just not convenient for you because now it slows down your workflow.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, it's slow enough in a sense as is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. It's funny. I had a conversation actually the other day about with Jen Hall. I was at the media lab there, and they're giving feedback, and she did a video on work to publish. And it was kind of an interesting concept for me because it was a lot of people. How I sort of see it is a lot of people are producing stuff, but they're not publishing on a regular basis. Like, there's no end, right? So a lot of times they're not publishing because there's no deadline. There's no, if I don't publish this, I don't get paid. If I don't do this, all at the end of the day, right? So, I mean, it's kind of interesting that, people are sort of not necessarily producing with any end goal in mean other than, self-satisfaction or, personal work or all that kind of stuff. So,
I mean, publication, you got to be careful with all that too, right? A lot of magazines or so-called magazines out there that they're looking for free work. I mean,
well, it progressively gets worse and worse, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's changed a lot. A lot of people are, they're just kind of scraping by in a lot of things. A lot of ends of photography are kind of taking a dive. I mean, even in my own work, I see it doesn't hold the value that it once did. Like, I mean, used to be action sports magazines and all that kind of stuff, and I mean, you go to a magazine stand and they would be full of these things. Same with rock. Like, I mean, you go Rolling Stone, Hammer, all these kind of guys, and they would all be there. And even small newspapers like Beetroot and Fast Forward, eventually they disappear. I mean, we still got Beetroot, but Fast Forward became a thing of the past. And a lot of those guys, as they sort of in their decline, they're looking for more and more free work, which, it's not self-sustainable, which is interesting because, I mean, the truth of the matter is the internet as a whole consumes so much, right? And it needs stuff to consume. So if people aren't producing, you've got yourself a whole sort of whack of problems there, right?
Well, technology, like, what sets your photos any different compared to a guy shooting on a cell phone?
Yeah.
Right? That's
a huge difference.
Yeah. But we know there's a huge difference, but for an average viewer, they can't tell the difference. Yeah. Like, I shot quite a few weddings. I mean, I shot with the D800 at times, and I shot at the D750, 26 compared to, 24 compared to 36 megapixels. I show it to my client. They can't tell the difference, especially on prints. I mean, by the time it's all printed, they can't tell the difference. Even if I shoot with a 16 megapixel camera, they can't tell the difference.
No, and that's back to my original point, is that you know what you're shooting for, and realize that for certain things, certain cameras will make a difference. Like if you're going to shoot the NFL tomorrow, you are probably not going to want to grab a Canon Rebel and try to attempt to do that, right? This is probably not going to end as well as it should. On the other end of things, if you get a DX, you'll be perfectly fine. You'll be you'll be right in there. But I mean, you have to be honest with yourself. A lot of times when you're buying a camera, sort of like I said, that gear lust. You want the latest, greatest thing. Are you going to use it to its capacity, right?
For myself, it's not really the latest and greatest. For me, it's just kind of sort of future-proofing myself. Because when I look at my lineup right now, nothing supports 4K. Yeah. So I know somewhere down the line, I'm going to have to buy at least one camera that supports 4K. Yeah. I mean, right now with the prices and all, I don't see myself hopping in. If I do need it, I'll probably rent it. Yeah. But when it comes to more available to the mass market at a more affordable price, it's just a matter of time that I actually invest in one. So.
And the advancements aren't going as far as they go. Like if we take a look at the new Sony, for example, right? They are using the exact same sensor as they did in their last, AR camera. So the AR II and the AR III have the exact same sensor. So
they just kind of improved the back end of things.
Yeah, they said they had tweaked some, things to get more performance out of it. Now I don't know what that entails, because if it's the same sensor and the shutter opens and all that kind of stuff, it has to definitely be sort of on the software end of things, which makes you wonder if they could not have achieved that with something like.
Well, the hardware side of things, if you look at the processors and stuff, does make quite a bit of difference too, right? So it's all too scientific for myself, but due to the heat, that's producing the circuit boards and stuff, that all can affect the performance of the sensor as well. That's to my knowledge.
Sony's have never been known for that.
So that's why if you actually look at a camera like a D810 compared to the Sonys, why the D810 can produce a lot more cleaner images compared to the Sonys. It's because of all the back-end work. Don't know what's happening in there. To me, it's just a big, huge magic box. But there is slight differences depending on the hardware that you use. It definitely affects it. So, I mean, that's where you have the small little incremental improvements, right? Compared to the D800, D800E, the D810. It's all slight improvements. It's nothing to brag home about. Are you going to notice half a stop of low light performance? No.
No. I mean, it's and that's exactly it. Sometimes it's half stop. Sometimes it's a full stop. Yeah. Sometimes it's a half stop, a dynamic range. It all depends. Like you said, they're incremental sort of increases. So, I mean, when people have gear lust, a lot of times they'll just every new thing, they'll get a new body, and it just kind of goes like that. It's not the way to go. I mean, I would always recommend that people invest their money in lenses before they ever do in bodies, because bodies will change, and it's not going to make a huge difference. A lot of people ask me why I have an upgrade to the 5D Mark IV. Well, one reason is because Canon hasn't sent me one. So if they send me one, I'll use it. But the other part is that I don't think it will make that much of a difference in my work.
Yeah.
To sort of justify it. The time that I will switch is when I switch to the 4K video, which I don't have in any of my cameras currently. So again, like you said, at some point you have to make that jump in the video. And that's where I will probably make mine. But I won't switch systems. I won't do anything like that. I mean, Panasonic, is producing some great video stuff. Sony's doing great video as well. They're doing some great stills as well. But like I said, all these new cameras, with the exception of the Nikon, where they sort of lack for me is the autofocus systems.
Well, Canon has the dual pixel, right? I mean, that works great. I've been hearing rave reviews on it. I don't know, but it all depends on your needs and what your shooting type is, right? Yeah. So, I mean, the Nikon D850, is it a great camera? Definitely. Is it a really good all-around camera? I mean, if you actually think about it, the D850 is killing the D5. Yeah. If you put on a grip, you have 9 frames per second. That's more than plenty for sports. Yeah. Right? You pop that into crop mode, you get 20 megapixels. That kills off a D500. I mean, if you're actually shooting professionally day in, day out, every weekend on a wedding, I can see why somebody would jump on it. Yeah. But because for myself, I've slowed down the past 2 years or so, I slowed down big time on my photography. I can't justify purchasing that. Is it a great camera? Great. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Do I have gear less? Definitely. Yeah. But I can't justify spending that amount on it if I'm not going to be using it as to its full potential. Right?
I mean, if you're a full functioning business and you're working all the time and you got money coming in all the time. Yeah. You want to buy? Can you buy stuff like that? Yeah, you'll probably go through bodies more than anybody else. It's more because you probably burn cameras out than anything else. Yeah. But it's not. There should be no rush. Like, I mean, if you are an amateur, if you are just getting into it, I mean, buy the camera that you could afford. Don't push it too far necessarily. Keep in mind that when you're buying lenses, that you're going to probably stay in a system. Like, I mean, I'm married to Canon now because I have so many lenses that are Canon that I would have to spend thousands of dollars to make a switch, and I'm not really willing to do that, right?
Well, that's what prevented me from jumping to Sony right from the beginning is the glass. Yeah. I mean, for me to get Nikon glass, sell it at maybe half the price, and then purchase Sony at full price. That's a hard hit. I don't care which system you're coming from. If you're coming from Canon or Nikon, or even from Sony back to Canon or Nikon, that's a huge profit loss, or investment loss just to switch systems. I mean, do I had a need at the time? No. Right. Even today, I still don't see the time. And the reason to switch, one thing being is that from me using Micro Four Thirds, that's a small dinky little camera. I went down to the camera store and stuff. I tested out the Sonys. The size wise, it's not a whole lot different compared to Micro Four Thirds. If you actually pick up a GH5 and stuff, that's a small camera. Yeah. You mount even just a 70 to 200 on it. Now you get balancing issues. Yeah. I mean, for me, I use SLRs for so long that I'm comfortable with the balance between the body. I mean, is the body huge? Of course, but it helps balance out the lenses. Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
If you're a sports shooter, I can't imagine you going to Sony. Yeah. You got this big, huge, 400 millimeter with a small little mirrorless camera.
It's not going to be a fun day.
No. So that's my reason not going to Sony, because I'm more of a photography side of things. I'm not into video. So I do see the advantage of it. If you're a wedding shooter, you need to do both videography and photography. It might work out.
The moment that Sony gets their autofocus figured out is probably the time that you probably see me pick up a body and start having a secondary camera. But I mean, like I said, it'll be a slow transition. If I fully transition, I doubt it. That's just sort of the way that is. Like I said, once you become invested in something, it's it's not going to change too fast.
I don't own any Sony at this point, but judging by their professional service, it's not quite on par with Canon and Nikon yet.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I can send my camera out and I'll have it back within a week with Nikon. I mean,
Yeah.
With Sony, you could be waiting up to a month.
Yeah.
You know, downtown in camera, that means you're not making money.
Yeah, exactly.
And Sony doesn't seem to get that.
Yeah.
So,
which is not good. But that's all we have time for this week. Thanks for tuning in. I'm JD.
I'm David.
See ya.
Until next time.